On today's show, we highlight trucks, what makes them stop, what makes them go. First up, we replace a parking brake system, followed by an intake swap, and clutch options for a diesel. Kathy's all set to go next on Performance TV.
Welcome to another edition of Performance TV. Whether you call them parking brakes, emergency brakes, like I still refer to them as, you don't want to have something in your vehicle that is going to be subpar, made with plastic and subpar parts. Bruin brake cables, Rick Galshay, you can take care of that for us, and something that is made here in the USA. Tell us about some of these brake cables that we find in our production vehicles.
Well, if you go to your local auto parts store, you don't know what you're going to be getting. A lot of auto part retailers are bringing parts from overseas and sticking them in their boxes. All those accepted brands that we were used to, well, it's hard to know what you're getting. Bruin brake cables makes parts the old-fashioned way. We use quality components in all our brake cables. They're pressure tested to over 1,000 pounds. We use steel, where you might find pot metal and zinc and other types of combinations and
plastic and things like that, which might not rust, but it's not something that we want to be, you know, holding our truck, our trailer with our boat or whatever else, or race car behind it. You gonna do something there to show us just how well this is not made? Well, let's put it this way. All right, I'll get my glasses on here.
Good pressure test is always the best way to kind of illustrate our point. That's not what I want behind my race car or behind my boat.
Absolutely not. All right, Rick, now let's see the Bruin brake cable.
Well, we'll check that out.
It ain't going nowhere. We've got a nice looking Dodge truck here. I say we get a good Bruin brake cable on and see how easy it is to install. All right, well, we're gonna get right to taking the old brake cable out of this Dodge and get the Bruin brake cable installed. So we're gonna go to the man in charge here, Director of Operations at Bruin Brake Cables, Brian Brum. Brian, this one's already looking pretty icky under here, and this truck's not even really that old.
When they're made out of steel, they don't protect them. They try to paint it, but it looks like it rusts anyway.
Yeah, we've already got some stuff sprayed on here, so this is exactly where we want to get started to take the old one out.
Yeah, this is where you release all the tension from the brake system. You just start with the equalizer here, you loosen this nut, and then that releases the tension, and then you can take all the cables off after that.
Let's get started.
All right. First, we got 13 millimeter. We're going to go over this threaded end fitting here and just loosen it, holding it with a pair of channel locks on the other side. As you can see, it's starting to loosen now.
I bet you didn't have a buzz gun for something like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to just cut it off. You could also do that. So after we loosen the tension, we take this fitting out, and then we can start working on the wire connector to take that out. Just push this.
Push that on through. Yeah, because we're actually going to save this part through here. We will reuse all.
Yeah, we have to reuse this. We have to reuse this, and then, but we just have to take it all apart.
So because these things really don't go bad. Themselves.
Right.
Because we're going to replace the cable to this point, and then the two cables going out to the back.
Yep, and then we can reuse this because even though it's a little rusty, it'll still work.
Actually, a little trick that Brian's going to show us here is going to save you guys a lot of time and headache on taking out the housing fittings. Has a lot to do with this little hose clamp.
With this hose clamp, what we do is we put it over the housing fitting. A lot of them have a prong on either side that we need to compress. After we got the hose clamp on, compressing both prongs, what we're going to do is we're going to push it out to get the prongs started into the hole, so that way we can actually release the cable from its mounting hole.
So now that we have the cable off from back there, wow, look here, Brian, we have plastic, right, to start with. Maybe I should use the hammer on this one this time. Little easy trick to help release this from the back. You can just take the cable and push on it, and it's going to pop right out. We can come over here and take this part off. And hey, another place that you get to use your trusty little hose clamp trick too.
Yep.
Now you want to make sure that you have that just in the hose clamp at a certain spot, don't you?
Right, otherwise putting the clamp on it will just keep it in place more. You got to make sure you have it back far enough so you can actually slide it out. And then once you release the clamp,
then out
we can just slide it right out.
Awesome. We go ahead and pop that out of there. While Brian gets the other brake cable off this side over here, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to show you how to install the new Bruin brake cable.
This edition of Performance TV, presented by Low Carb Performance Products, is being brought to you by Titan Fuel Tanks, bigger, better, faster. And by Bruin Brake Cables, made in the USA, certified. And by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology.
Welcome back to Performance TV. While we were at break, we had a chance to, Brian, to get up our other Bruin brake cable. Now we're going to install this side. And actually, Brian, we can use a little bit of the trick that we used to take the old one off when we install a new one. First, we're going to stick this up here. Got it into place. And slide the spring back. Now, you want to go ahead and hold on to that for me? And I'll take this side over here. See if I can pull this out.
I'll give you a push.
All right. You get it? Ta-da. So we're going to go ahead and run this through up here, right, Brian?
Yep. You just got to feed it around, make sure you're clearing any suspension parts, and making sure you just go back to the same place where the original cable was.
And we're through. Now, it looks like we might have a little bit of slack or something back here.
Yeah, that's why we have zip ties.
I was going to say, couldn't build anything without him, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And
that gets it right out of the way. And then we cut off the excess.
Oh, yeah, I got to keep it cleaned up back there. Okay, so now we can hook them back up here.
You just got to run this housing fitting back through its mounting hole again. Give it a good pull, and then it's ready to go.
Now that we have the back two brake cables taken care of, what we need to do is take care of the one that goes up in the cab that we actuate as the driver, and we're going to use our trusty hose clamp again. Just take this one off. Now we'll need to get up into the cab.
Yeah, we'll have to take off the door sill to get up underneath where the brake pedal is.
And every application is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't even have to go into the cab. So then after we have the housing fitting released, we take this rubber grommet and we push it up into the cab so then we can pull the cable out.
Okay, we've dropped the truck down on the ground so we can get the door open here. So all we need to do is we need to pop off this sill plate here. Pull this panel off. So we've got our grommet here. And now we'll need to release this one up here on the inside where we actually have the brake pedal.
So we can take the hose clamp again and take the pressure off the housing fitting and pull on out of the way. And then we just have to release the wire fitting from the brake cable mechanism.
All right, Brian has got the cable out of the truck. A couple of different things that we need to do here between the old cable and the new cable. First, Brian, I know you need to go ahead and put the intermediate cable back on, which is actually part that is underneath the truck. What I need to do is get the grommet off, and we went ahead and cut the end of this off to make it a lot easier to slide off of here. So now that we have that, we don't need this old plastic thing anymore. So you want to do with this? Get that out of here. Okay, Brian got the grommet back on. Just had to use a little stuff to squeeze that on there with. That was about where we had it. All we need to do is lift that carpet back up, run it down through. I'll get it ready for you. We'll put this thing back up in the lift, hook her back up. We've fed that through from the top. So now, Brian, we feed this through here. Get your long arms up there. All right, got that snapped into place. Now what do we want to do over here? Well, I'll get these zip ties.
Well, we're going to put the housing fitting back into our equalizer here. And then we're going to hook up the rear cable to the turnbuckle. And then we're going to hook the front cable to the rear to get it all synchronized together.
All right, Brian, you did a good job there. You know, if you ever have any questions about how much to tighten that, just check out your owner's manual. Rick, what happens if you got a four-wheel drive? Would we use the same cables?
Well, a lot of people are doing that, even with the lift kits. The problem with that is, now if you're going to take a stock original cable and string it along a longer length, that means you're going to have gaps underneath the wheel well, around the frame. Now, if you're running over a log or a stick or whatever it might be, it's a good chance that can go in there, jam up everything, and kind of tear your whole system down.
And you guys have how many different part numbers?
We have about 3,000 different brake cables that we offer. We cover all the vehicles, antique cruisers, muscle cars, and late model. But for your 4x4s, we'll do a custom cable. All we need to know is what the kind of lift it is, the type of fittings there are, and we'll put together a custom cable for you so you can tie it up along the frame and along the area so it'll keep it safe.
And if you want to find out more about any of their products, you can hop on BruinBrakeCables.com or AutoPartsNetwork.com. Welcome back to Performance TV, and that's what this show is all about, is performance. And man, we are going to be putting some performance into this diesel truck behind us. We brought in Delton Sensenegg from East Coast Diesels. You know, a lot of times the first thing that people think about doing an upgrade on their diesel truck, they start right with the electronics, and it looks like you've got some pretty good stuff for us right here.
Yeah, Edge Products is a product line that we handle along with Smarty, tuners and also programmers. BD Diesel builds an exhaust manifold which flows more air.
Not only that, what do we got going on right here?
On the third generation Dodges have an issue with the manifolds expanding and contracting and cracking. BD actually has a two-piece manifold here which allows that movement.
Well, that's going to make a big difference. And
yeah.
We got our spots right there for our EGTs, too.
It's 1/8 inch MPT for the exhaust temperature probes.
We want to make sure that we're getting nothing but fuel in.
Absolutely.
And this system looks like it can do something like that.
Yeah, basically AirDog builds an aftermarket lift pump which filters to a 2-micron level. So it replaces your factory lift pump, also separates the water out of the fuel, and also the air out of the fuel. So you're putting 100% pure fuel to your motor, which in turn is going to anonymize the fuel through the injection system much more efficiently.
Right, because where we're worried about the air is what we've got sitting over here in this whole combination.
Yeah, that's BD Diesel's Killer B Turbo.
What are we looking at on a truck like this? Where do we start turbo-wise?
The factory charger on this truck is roughly about 450 CFM air. That charger is about 1190.
Wow.
So quite a bit more airflow.
And when we've got that much more airflow, we're going to need to go up. Is this 5-ply on these?
Yeah, those are 5-ply boots by BD Diesel. It's a complete kit that they offer for the second gens and the third gens, complete with the clamp kit with heavy spring-loaded clamps.
What are we talking about CFM? How much can this handle, or pressure, I should say?
Yeah, it'll actually hold about 100 pounds of pressure.
Okay, and when we want to get more air in, we're going to need a totally different type of intake here.
Yeah, this is BD's exhale intake. Basically, it's a much larger intake, creates a reservoir for the compressed air.
I noticed something here too. The way this thing's going to have studs to go on, but I don't see the studs going through, and I won't see them inside.
Correct. One of BD's features is the fact that they do not put the bolts through the air passage.
And we've also got the place on here
for your boost pressure gauges.
And everything else is going to hook up right just like the factory.
Absolutely, bolt-on application.
You know what, bolt on? I think we can bolt this on. What do you say we go do that right now?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to get started here. First, we got to get the old one off. This looks pretty clean in here and easy to get to.
Yeah, it is. It's real easy. There's 4 10mm bolts here. Take these out. I've already broken these loose, so they're pretty easy.
We got the one on top.
Yeah, one on top and then one down here on the boot. Take the oil dipstick tube loose.
Now, with the studs that we have with the new one, we're not going to need those anymore.
Correct.
It looks like this kit comes with a new gasket, too.
Absolutely.
Now, just by changing the intake manifold, what kind of performance upgrade could you expect to see?
Well, it's not so much like a horsepower upgrade, so to speak, but it's more a quicker spool on the turbo, so you get a little bit quicker response on the acceleration. So we get this loose, and we can twist this, it'll pop right out.
And look at how small this is through here, like he was talking about, where we have the reservoir on the new one to hold the air. Big difference.
Let's go back together by threading these back down in here.
Now, something we want to keep in mind, though, on the threads, when we're putting this back in, we're putting the studs on.
Correct. You're putting the longer part of the threaded portion of the stud into the intake manifold, and the shorter part to the top.
Get your new gasket.
Gasket in there. And now the intake manifold.
All right, well, before we put this on there, should we go ahead and plug these up first?
Sure. Being we're not putting a boost gauge on here, just put the 1/8 inch plugs in here.
And again, all of this is supplied with the kit.
Yeah, BD's really good with very detailed instructions, and also every single part that you're going to need to install it. We should be able to just pull this to the side. Slide it right down on.
Now, it actually has some washers that will go on the top with your nice 2 little nuts here, and these will go on the back side, so they're a lot easier to get in.
Correct. So
whichever ones you want first.
Thread these down into here. Put the acorn nuts on. Move your dipstick tube over here. Bend it a little bit.
Now this one looks pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You know, if somebody gets one for their Ford or whatever, maybe they run into some problems, can they give you a call?
Absolutely. Give me a call at any time. I can walk you through the process relatively easy over the phone and help you out with any of the installs.
You just want those snug?
Just snug them down, yeah. You don't need to torque them down. Don't get crazy with them. Just make them good and snug.
Is it something you would want to come back and check after you ran it for a while?
Yeah, it's always a good idea to come back.
Vibration that we have.
Exactly. Just double check it and make sure that it's nice and snug. Come in here and tighten this down. And then slip your boot up over. We can break this clamp loose. Sometimes it's easier to just put the clamp up on first, then bring the boot in. Just like that. And,
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like it's a little wider there.
Yeah, it is a little more snug.
Wow, look how simple that was.
Very, very easy. You can do it in your driveway. You want to make sure that your clamp, that your boot's protruding past the clamp, where you get a good lock on it. And again, just snug it up.
Don't go overboard.
You don't want to
with
go
it.
overboard. You don't want to snap it. You should be set.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
This week's ARP quarter-mile quiz question comes from Kevin in Ohio. Kevin wants to know, at what RPM does Pro Stock launch at, and how soon do they pull second gear?
It's dependent on the track temperature and a lot of ingredients on the starting line conditions and the atmospheric conditions, but we'll leave in a range from 6,200 to 7,200. In first gear, we're only in first gear about less than 1 second, and we're in second gear less time than that. So you're in third gear at about 1.8 seconds.
If you have a question for the ARP quarter-mile quiz, send it to the address on the screen. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive an ARP quarter-mile quiz shirt. This edition of Performance TV, presented by Low Carb Performance Products, is being brought to you by Low Carb Performance Products. Quality, plain and simple. And by Guard Air Corporation. We take worker safety seriously. And by Steel Rubber Products. Quality automotive rubber parts and weather stripping.
Several years ago, I met an up-and-coming builder who really isn't up-and-coming. He's been around for 15 years, but now people are just starting to notice him, and that's John Wargo with the Custom Shop. You kind of take a traditional muscle car and put your own spin and your own flair on it, don't you?
You know, dealing with customers now, you gotta be able to read them and what they want. So, you know, I'll do a rendering or something and kind of throw some different ideas at them. And then from there, they also look back at the stuff that we've done in the past. So, you know, the ability to show them a rendering of it for the future of what it's gonna look like, get them to trust me and to do the stuff like I do.
Now, what was the first custom car that you built?
When I was 15, I bought a 75 Firebird. Believe it or not, I custom painted it and everything before I was even 16 years old.
You've done a lot of great cars, a lot of great muscle cars over the years. Do you have a favorite?
Of my own is probably the Sod Camaro that I built, the all-wheel drive 68 Camaro. I guess just because it was a brainchild that I came up with and nobody's ever done one like it, and I guess that's probably what made me so excited about that one.
And the Custom Shop, that's a family business. Family's real important, isn't it?
My dad and I started it. My dad actually worked at a factory. I worked a night job for 8 years while I ran the shop during the day, but that's what I had to do to get the shop off the ground, and I'd do it again tomorrow if I had to.
Welcome back to Performance TV. Now that we are adding a little bit at a time, more power, we're going to find our weak link really fast, and Delton, tell me what we can do with this right here. I mean, this is one heavy duty, and I mean heavy duty clutch.
Well, this is South Bend's new street dual disc twin clutch. It's their new multi-friction twin disc.
Now, before you start to take this apart here, I noticed, what's this red paint stripe over here?
Well, basically, these clutches come through balanced. Because there's multiple pieces in here, this is a balanced clutch, and it's signified by the paint mark. So when you reassemble it, you
know right where to put everything back together.
Absolutely. So basically, the beauty of this clutch is the fact that it's a multi-friction clutch. So basically, it's got the Performance Organic pads on the pressure plate and also the flywheel side. It's got a 12-button ceramic pad towards the floater plate. In a twin disc application, this is the floater plate. A lot of people don't care for the twin disc clutches because they understand that they're noisy. South Bend updated theirs and put pins in here to keep this floater plate from bouncing around.
Yeah, something else that I noticed here too. Now, when you take this out, there's actually little rubber pieces
There's little
there?
rubber bump stops in here to dampen the noise.
Okay, so that is what is making this two-disc setup a whole lot quieter.
Exactly. So we have the floater plate, we have the second clutch disc, again the Performance Organic towards the flywheel. And then one of the other things that South Bend does is they replace the regular needle bearing, pilot bearing, with a sealed roller bearing, and they also put a retainer in there to keep the bearing from falling out.
Wow, made all kinds of adjustments and updates to make this thing a lot better.
Absolutely.
So when we're going to put this in, we're going to want to do all the other new stuff to go out.
Correct.
Maybe we got the new throw-out bearing here, and looks like this is already ready to go.
Correct. With the G56 transmission, it already comes with a solid flywheel, comes complete with a complete hydraulic assembly, already filled, pre-bled, bolt-on. Pilot bearing, new release fork, and alignment tool, all as one assembly.
Wow, that is really something else. These are just a few of the products that you guys have at East Coast Diesel. If we want to find out more, get some ideas of what we can do to upgrade our particular application, just hop on your website.
Yep, it's ecddiesel.com.
Easy as that. We're going to have a whole lot more projects because we're out of time for this week. The next time we come back on Performance TV, and if you want to know what some of those are, you can always check us out on Facebook. See you later.